Hey guys, out here in the driveway again, working on some shit. And I had a flash of brilliance. Well, not a flash of brilliance, more or less just a realization of what I call the constellation of goodness. Here's what I mean. So on the weekend, I was doing some work with my trailer, and I had to go to Hamilton, pick up some stuff, and I had a full day planned, and it was good. I felt very productive, etc., etc. And one of the things that became that was part of the constellation of goodness, and this often happens to me when I was out. I went to a location, and it turned out that the contact there, I purchased certain items, and they had more of the items that I normally purchase, and I was happy to get them at a very favorable price. And that's fine. That happens to me a lot. It's I always look at that as a sort of an extra blessing. I don't know, like the good farmer whose tree makes extra fruit. Anyway, so I proceeded on my way, and da-da-da-da. But while I was in Hamilton, my son, he attends a college there. And I had reached out to him the night before, and he's a teenager, so sometimes this communication isn't exactly punctual. But he had said to me, "Hey Dad, yeah, we can get together around noon." So I was like, "Sure, great." So as I know he likes to sleep in, even that morning, I had reached out to him and said, "Hey man, I'll be in town." But I got no response. So I didn't think of it. Or I got no response, so I kept doing what I was doing. But 1 o'clock came along. And when 1 o'clock came along, I was like, I wasn't going to start blowing up his phone saying, "Hey man, you promised blah, 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 blah." I just sort of let people do what they have to do. And I proceeded on my way. And from Hamilton, where I was located, I chose to take the back roads, a little more relaxed way to travel, which was good. Because what happened is that while I was driving, because my trailer was heavily loaded, while I was driving, my leaf spring broke. Now, if you know anything about trailers, like smaller box trailers, the leaf springs would holds the axle on. And my son lives up on the mountain in Hamilton. And I can only imagine the extended level of horseshit and largely some unbelievable amount of danger that would have happened had I gone to meet with him. When I noticed, I was driving along, and I was driving down a country road, and I heard a tinkle. This is just like tinkle, 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 tinkle. And of course the axle hadn't fallen off yet because I wasn't doing any Herculean drive or doing crazy speeds. But if I had been, you can imagine, if you've ever driven to Hamilton up the escarpment, there's some pretty serious grades there. And, I can't help but think this is part of my constellation of goodness. Now, of course, I'm not saying that I'm the greatest person who ever lived, but one thing that is always on my mind is, how I can treat people fairly, how I can be kind to people, friends and strangers alike. Not to the point I'm going to let them abuse me, but the point I can, go to my way to do things that they wouldn't necessarily expect, as a means of reinforcing the goodness in the world. But if you read enough of the wise old prophets, they'll, starting with the Bible, the righteous man's steps are blessed. The constellation of goodness. It even speaks in the Bible that if a righteous man is, like if a Christian man is with an unchristian woman or vice versa, they actually bless their partner by their association. Now, the reason I mention this is, like, as I said, I have experienced this kind of thing enough in my life to know it's real. I mean, I've always sort of I can't say I've always been perfect, but if I think about all the times in my life that my bacon was saved just by a circumstance, it's a lot. I can honestly say I have never had a large calamity. I mean, I've had some large calamities, but in the aftermath, I realized it was something that had to happen. The biggest one was my broken leg. Happened during the pandemic, and if I hadn't broken my leg, I probably would have picked up and left town, and it would have just caused a lot of disruption in my life. So breaking my leg was actually a good deal. But the opposite of this is true. I've also lived long enough to see people who indulge in not necessarily evil things, but they indulge in a me first kind of attitude. They live a selfish life. They're putting themselves ahead of others. They don't have a charitable way of it. And I have witnessed so many times in my life those people experience hardships that arguably could be like in the category of, what did I do to deserve this? And the longer I live and the more I see that, and I especially, you get to a certain age and you see it in your peers and even some of your older contemporaries, maybe their parents or whatever, where, just this critical mass of bullshit is just forming, it's almost like they're carrying pollen. Like, you ever see a bee and it's loaded with pollen? It's like all the bullshit that they have accumulated, like the bad energy, is starting to manifest in their life, whether it's bad health, whether it's like freak bullshit happening in their life, crazy occurrences. It's just like that. It becomes the whole why me thing. And again, this is just my observation, but again, it is based on my observations in my life and the world in general. And of course, this is backed up, by the guys who sit on the mountaintop and meditate all day. Yeah, their whole shtick is that this is the deal. Anyway, it's not going to be a long video. I'm still fixing this broken spring in my trailer. But praise God, I wasn't screaming up the escarpment at 45 degrees, having the axle fall out from underneath my trailer. So the takeaway that I would suggest to anyone who has taken the time to enjoy my video today, if things are going wrong for you, maybe you should ask yourself if it's time to cut the bullshit. And I'm not talking about just one thing. I'm talking about if things have been going consistently awry for a while, it might be time to cut the bullshit. And again, what is the bullshit? Maybe it's time to put others before yourself. Maybe it's time to indulge in thinking that is healthy and productive as opposed to destructive. I don't know. Only you're going to know what your own personal situation is, and the sad part about what I'm saying is that there are plenty of people who have no idea. They have no objective realization that the way that they're handling themselves is selfish and destructive. But time and time again, novellas are written in novellas and stories in antiquity are replete with many stories where people had to be brought to their knees by the realization that the way they've handled themselves is wrong. And the clue is how the universe deals with you. So there it is. Okay, guys, hope you had a good day. I got to finish fixing this trailer leaf. And do your best to be the best. and I'll talk to you soon.